and welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. Appreciate you being with me today. We are continuing our business leadership series called Becoming a Visionary Brand. It's actually from my first best-selling book, The Visionary Brand, the Success Formula Behind the World's Most Visionary Brands, and this will be Chronicle 3. And this is called Creating a Consistent Brand Experience. And many times I see in brands, you know what kills brands more than bad products? It's inconsistent experiences along their journey to purchasing or a service or something you provide. One touch point you may give your customer says, hey, I'm a premium quality product or brand. Another says discount mediocrity. One employee embodies your values, another contradicts them. One channel delivers excellence, another delivers disappointment. Inconsistency along that journey for your customer. So, welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. It's Chronicle 3, creating a consistent brand experience in my series, Becoming a Visionary Brand. For those that didn't listen to the first two, in Chronicle 1, we talked about understanding visionary branding that separates iconic brands from everyone else, the visionary gap, the liquid mindset, the foundation of thinking differently about brand building. It's really an anchor and a foundation where brands are built. And then in Chronicle 2, we went a little bit deeper on the architecture of disruption, is what I called it. And this was about how to build brands willing to cannibalize their own success, conduct sacred cow audits, and stay ahead of disrupting yourself first. And on each one of these chronicles, the intent here is not only to talk to you about these subjects and how to become a visionary brand, but it's also for you to do kind of an introspective, to also ask you questions that will allow you to become a better thinker, a better brand, and more consistent with your success. So in Chronicle 3, this is what we're going to talk about a little bit further, but those are the first two Chronicles. If you haven't listened to them, highly encourage you to go back and listen to those before listening to Chronicle 3. But here's what I see a lot of the time. Brands understand the vision. They're willing to disrupt, but they fail at the basics of consistency. They have a brilliant strategy and a terrible execution across touch points. And that's why the journey is so important, that you understand the steps to success. You may have a vision, you may have a strategy, but if your execution is horrible, none of that matters. You can have the most visionary brand strategy in the world, but if your customer experiences inconsistencies along their journey to purchasing or utilizing your service, if what you promise doesn't match what you deliver, if one touch point contradicts another, you'll never build trust required for your long-term success. That's so integral to what I'll talk about today. So today we're going to fix that for you. We're building the operational discipline that turns visionaries and strategies into consistent reality, which is what everybody wants, right? You want not only the reality of your vision, but you want to be consistent in the execution and the delivery of that vision. And key concept 1, I call it. So let's talk about these. You know, why consistency is the foundation of brand power, I call it. Let me start really with the hard truth. Customers don't experience your brand strategy. They experience your touch points. Think about your journeys with purchasing from brands that you buy from, apparel, footwear, products, services, whatever it may be. You have a journey to purchasing that product or service. They don't read your vision documents, or they don't sit in your strategy sessions. So understand what they're going through along that journey process. And there's so many brands that I work with personally and through Liquid Mind, where we whiteboard these things. We ask these questions that I'm going to ask you today. And these are things you need to be thinking about, not just weekly, monthly, but every hour of your business is integral to your success. They interact with your website, your products, your stores, your customer service, your emails, your social media, your packaging. Everything is consistent with delivering and executing on the customer journey. And every single one of these touch points either reinforces what you stand for as a brand or it contradicts it. It's your choice. So, what is this, what I call this consistency principle, look like? Brand power. So, the first thing I'll say is brand power isn't built by what you say about yourself. It's built by the consistency of what customers experience across every interaction that you deliver to them along their journey. One great experience does not build a brand. Consistently great experiences across all touch points is what builds brands and the power that they deliver in their success. Think about Apple. What makes Apple's brand so powerful isn't just their products. It's that every single touch point delivers the same message. This is beautifully designed. This is intuitive. This respects your intelligence as a customer of Apple. Product design, beautiful and intuitive. Packaging, beautiful and intuitive. Retail stores, beautiful and intuitive. Website, beautiful and intuitive. I think you're understanding the touch points and the consistency that's required to be a great brand. Customer service, respectful and helpful. Software, consistent across all their devices. So every touch point reinforces every other touch point. Think of it as a chain. And a chain locked together and linked together is extremely strong in its ability to hold things together. But if a link is broke along the way, it no longer has the same power and effectiveness. That's consistency. And consistency over time creates trust. Trust creates loyalty. Loyalty creates brand power, lifetime customer value. So, what is the inconsistency problem most brands are facing? Now, think about your brands that you've lost trust in. Just mark them down and just see what you think here and why you don't trust them anymore. I would guarantee you this, be willing to bet money. It wasn't one bad experience, it was inconsistency. They promised premium but delivered mediocre to you. They said they cared about customers but treated you poorly. They claimed innovation but gave you the same old thing. They talked about values but acted differently. Every inconsistency a brand dealt to their customer erodes trust. And I can tell you, once trust is lost, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. Because the customer becomes somewhat angry that you don't understand the journey and making it easier for them, making it intuitive for them. And they feel it isn't worth their time because you could have, and here's the other thing to remember as a brand, you could have 9 great experiences, but if the 10th is inconsistent, you lose trust. Hey, get upset all you want, but that's just the reality of what we live in today. Expectations are high. So you need to ensure that before you commercialize something, that process works and it's consistent. And let's see how brands become inconsistent. Reason one is they scale without systems. Growth requires complexity. You're trying to grow, it's complex, it's hard. We know that. More products, more channels, more employees, more touch points. Without systems to maintain consistency, every expansion creates fragmentation in your brand. Reason two is different functions operate independently. Marketing has one idea of the brand, product has another, customer service has a third, operations has a fourth. Nobody's coordinating with one another. Reason three is they optimize touch points individually, not linked, as I talked about earlier with the chain. They make every touch point better in isolation without considering how it fits the whole brand experience from a vertical perspective. Number four is they chase trends instead of staying true to who they are. Every new trend, they pivot. Every competitor move, they react. The brand becomes a mashup of contradictory signals and inconsistency with their customers. When I was at Oakley, we were obsessed with this consistency as a brand. Every product, every store, every ad, every partnership, all had to reinforce the same thing: performance, innovation, and authenticity. If it didn't have those three, we didn't do it. If something didn't fit, we didn't do it, even if it would have made money for us. So certainly money was the end goal, but if it sacrificed our ability to be consistent as a brand in our messaging and authentication, we just didn't do it. That discipline is what built the brand, Oakley. Not just great products, consistent reinforcement of what we stood for across every touch point of our brand. So here are some quick principles as you look at becoming a visionary brand. Here's some quick snapshot of principles that great brands do. Number one, customers experience touch points, not strategy. Number two, every touch point either reinforces or contradicts your brand. Number three is consistency over time builds trust. Number four is trust builds loyalty. Number five is loyalty builds brand power. So it's kind of all these consistent things, you taking steps along this mountaintop to getting to where loyalty builds brand power, but it can only be done through trust and experience and consistency through these touch points. So number two is key concept. Number two is mapping your brand touch points. So what does this look like? You can't create consistency if you don't know what places your brand shows up. So let's map out every touch point. And I can tell you, you may say, hey, I'm unique. I may have different touch points. Everybody has similar touch points. So let's map out every touch point where your brand meets your customers. So we have first what they call pre-purchase touch points. How do your people first hear about you? So I'm going to ask you some questions here as we go through these. And this is the intent of these series, is to hopefully teach you to be introspective and ask yourself these tough questions. So I'm going to give you some of these consistency things that brands do that map out their touch points. And these are things that we do with Liquid Mind when we sit down with our teams, is we get every functional group involved in these questions. So let me ask you these questions, and hopefully you're in a place where you can write these down. So I'll move a little bit slower here. But the first is pre-purchase touch points. How do people first hear about you and your brand? You got a couple options here: advertising, word of mouth, search, social media, PR, whatever it is. That's your first question. Where do they research you? Website, review, social media, comparison sites. Look at those touch points. And what builds what they call consideration? Is it content? Is it demos, testimonials, case studies? What is it? Then you have three questions on purchase touch points. The first is, how do they buy your product? E-com, retail, phone, sales team. Number two, what's the buying experience? And the best way we can test this is go and purchase your own products. You'd be surprised how many of the brands that we work with, Liquid Mind, that they actually don't buy their own products. They just build it and they hope they will come. Is it easy, complicated, confusing? And the third is, what happens immediately after someone purchases? I've never understood the brands that don't understand you don't just spit customers out in the back end once they purchased your product. That's the start of your journey with them on lifetime customer value, engaging and interacting once they do purchase. Is it confirmation? Is it anticipation building? Whatever it is, something happens after purchase. If it doesn't, you have a weak point. Number 3 is, what are your post-purchase touch points? How do they receive your product is question 1. Shipping, delivery, in-store pickup. What's the unboxing experience? Again, go back to Apple. How many of you still have your Apple iPhone boxes? Your MacBook Pro boxes? Packaging, presentation, first impressions from your customers of how that experience is. Sometimes you can use that in content. Sometimes people will videotape themselves opening up an Apple iPhone. Number 3 is, how's the first use? Intuitive, frustrating, exceeds expectations. And I'll give you an example here. Steve said that if a customer has to read instructions, it's too hard. I love that. That's about as easy as you're going to get. That's intuitive. It's not frustrating and exceeds expectations. What's the ongoing usage like? Reliable, problems, and if they needed support, how easily accessible is it? So those are post-purchase touch points. The next is your service touch points. Many people kind of, after post-purchase, they let their customers go, and they don't think about follow-up service, loyalty touch points. So on service touch points, how do they get help from you? Is it through customer service, FAQs, chat, phone, email? The next is, what's the service experience like? Fast, slow, helpful, frustrating? There's one thing I can guarantee is 100% of everybody I'm talking to today has all had varied types of experiences: frustrating, helpful, slow. Now think of that touch point. If you just improve that singular touch point on service experience, how much better the experience would be for your customer. And it has nothing to do with your strategy, your vision, or your product. Number 3 is, how are problems resolved when they call in and a customer has an issue with your product? Is it easy? Is it have friction? Number 4, or the next point, is loyalty touch points. And many times we don't even discuss this as a brand. And we do. We make a point of it with Liquid Mind that you need to understand all of the touch points. And service and loyalty are 2 that they never touch on. So loyalty touch points are this. How do you stay connected to your customer? Email, social media, app, community. What is it? Look at Nike's community. They service the athlete. They aspire to inspire them. What brings them back to your company, brand, or service? New products, updates, loyalty programs, content. And how do they share? That's an important one when you start talking about loyalty touch points. Referrals, reviews, social media, word of mouth. What is it? So if you have the ability to write these down, hopefully I went slow enough, but we'll have these in the podcast notes as well. But it's super important that you ask yourself these questions. So here's an exercise: is make a comprehensive list. Every single place your brand touches customers. And I've given you a few examples across different parts of the company and the journey. Don't skip anything. The touch points you forget are often where inconsistency hides. It's a hard exercise for many brands or companies because they've never really gone through that exercise. And once you have your complete list, you can assess the consistency you feel. But you can assess what you haven't identified. And that's why I gave you those different questions to ask yourself. At TaylorMade, we mapped over 40 distinct touch points along that journey. From the first time someone saw our logo to the end life of the product, every single one was an opportunity to reinforce or contradict what we stood for. And here's some principles off of this is, number 1, map pre-purchase, post-purchase, service, and loyalty touch points. Map them out. Don't skip the small touch points. That's what often matters most. Has nothing to do with product, has everything to do with service, has everything to do with loyalty. And if you're not mapping them out, you can't improve them. And as a result, lifetime customer value decreases, and so does brand equity. Remember, employees are touch points too. That's another thing I want you to remember as a visionary and as a leader of your company or a brand, that remember, employees are touch points as well. And then key concept number 3 is the brand consistency audit. And this is really important that you do this. Now that you've mapped your touch points, let's audit them for consistency. For each touch point, you're going to assess 3 things. Assessment 1 is, does this touch point clearly express what we stand for as a company, brand, or service? Rate it. Strong, weak, contradicting. Is it strong? Touch point clearly reinforces our brand. Is it weak? Touch point is neutral. Contradicting. The touch point actively contradicts what we stand for. This is damaging to the brand. A weak one is a missed opportunity, and a strong one is someone who's experienced this would understand what we stand for. So assessment number 2 is this touch point consistent with other touch points? Does the experience here match what customers experience elsewhere with our brand? Or does it feel disconnected, like a different company that they don't understand? That creates confusion with your customer, your community. Assessment number 3 is, does this touch point meet our quality standards as a brand? You're self-assessing here. Is this delivering the level of excellence we promise, or are you compromising? Here's an example audit of a outdoor brand that we worked with. And now listen to this. So here's the brand promise that they had, just to give you an idea of an example. Empowering outdoor adventures with bulletproof gear and expert guidance. So the website audit was strong. Clear expression of adventure ethos, expert content and guides, high quality product photography, consistent with the brand promise, yes. And the retail stores were strong. It was consistent with website and brand promise. E-commerce packaging was weak. Generic brown boxes, no inspiration, no expert guidance, missed opportunity to reinforce brand. Doesn't contradict, but doesn't reinforce it either. The next part was customer service was contradicting when we looked at it. Outsourced to call center with scripted responses actively contradicts brand promise because it felt transactional, not expert guidance for people. Staff had no outdoor experience at all. The next was social media was also weak. Inconsistent posting, mix of promotional content and user content with no clear strategy at all. Didn't feel like expert guidance for anything. A really missed opportunity to enforce your relationship with your customer as an outdoor brand. You also lost your authentication because there's nothing there for them to support beyond purchase. And I often talk about this, is that a product is only as good as your ability to reinforce authentication and continue that promise beyond the product use. How do I make a marathon runner better? Well, I help with his stride. I help with his endurance. Those are all things that aren't anything to do with the product. It has everything to do with your authentication as a footwear brand that sells running shoes. And here's the findings on this brand in particular. So I just wanted to give you this example based off of what I just mentioned, is that strong touch points, celebrate these. They're working. Double down on them. Weak touch points, quick wins, turn these into brand reinforcing moments. Contradicting touch points you may have, urgent fixes. These are actively hurting you and your brand and your ability to grow. When we did this at Oakley, we found contradictions we didn't know existed. A retail partner was using a discount bin displays for our premium products. Our packaging in some regions didn't match our quality standards. Customer service sounded scripted instead of performance focused. Every contradiction was eroding the brand we'd worked so hard to build. We fixed them all and the brand got stronger for it. So in your audit, go through the touch point list, rate each one, strong, weak, or contradicting, but be brutally honest when you answer these questions I've given to you. This isn't about feeling good about yourself. It's about seeing reality so you can fix it and become a great brand. So, what are some of the principles coming out of this? Strong touch points, celebrate and replicate. Weak touch points, opportunities to strengthen your brand. Contradicting touch points, urgent priorities you need to fix. Be honest. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge. Now, key concept 4 is eliminating experience gaps. Experience gaps are the spaces between what you promise and what you deliver. There where brands lose trust. Let me give you the most common experience gaps and really how to close them. Number 1 gap is promise versus reality. You promise premium quality, your product is good, but not premium. You promise fast shipping, it takes 2 weeks. You promise expert service, your staff is undertrained. How do you close it? Either deliver what you promise or stop promising it. Authenticity beats aspiration every single time. Gap 2 is channel inconsistency. Your retail experience is amazing. Your e-com experience is mediocre. Your mobile app is frustrating. Your customer experience is excellent in store, but terrible on the phone. So you can see when we talk about these gaps in your ability to be consistent as a brand and where that can fall apart. So it's really essential and integral for you to be honest with these questions and make sure you answer them and correct where you need to correct and strengthen where you're weak. So how to close it is bring all channels up to standard of your best channel. Customers don't care about operational challenges. They expect consistency. Think about your own experiences. Gap number 3 is communication versus behavior. You talk about sustainability, but use wasteful packaging. You claim to value employees, but have high turnover and really low morale. You say you prioritize customers, but optimize for profit at their expense. Here's how to close it. Change your behavior to match your communication. Or just stop communicating things you don't actually believe in. That's what I say many times with brands. Stop faking it. Your customers aren't dumb. They get it. They want an authentic brand. If you don't believe in it, stop talking about it. Because they're already moved on to another brand because of your inconsistency. Gap number 4 is product versus service. Your product is excellent. Your service is terrible. I have many brands that I work with and brands that I actually purchase where I have this experience. I go, hey, I love your product, but I can never get it on time. It's out of stock. Nobody ever tells me when it's going to be coming. I have to follow up myself. Customers experience both as your brand. Excellence is one, doesn't excuse mediocrity in the other. So here's how to close that gap. Bring both to the same level. Great products with terrible service is a bad brand. Adequate products with amazing service can be a great brand, but inconsistency really creates confusion. What are you? Your brand built off of excellence in your products, but a brand built off of horrible customer service, it doesn't match with who you're trying to be as a visionary brand. Gap number 5 is intended versus perceived. You intend premium positioning for your brand. Customers perceive you as mid-range. That's where I've seen with so many brands as well. We'll get brands coming to us and say, how do we become premium? We got the good, better, best strategy with brands. And you're not a brand if you're on the good level. More often than not, that's a commodity and you can't move to premium. That's why I say go back to who you are. Just stop talking about being a premium brand when you're not. You can't just raise your prices and say you're a premium brand with the same product. It's a disconnect. And when you look at this, you intend innovation. Customers perceive you as some type of derivative of a good brand. You intend friendly. Customers perceive you as indifferent, like you really don't care. So how do you close this one? Test perception regularly. And I say perception. Don't ask customers what they want. I'm not a big believer in that. They'll tell you about the intangibles, which I think is important, but be careful about asking a premium brand, asking a customer of yours what they want. Again, I go back to the Henry Ford because it's the simplest analogy I can use for this type of strategy. Is if he asked the customers what they wanted, they would have just said a faster horse, not a car, because they didn't know what a car was. So don't assume what you intend is what's received by your customer. Close the gap between intent and perception through deliberate touchpoint design. The Nike example of no gaps. Let me give you an idea of a brand that's been here, we know, for generations and has been successful in every single year because of their consistency. Nike promises to empower athletes. Every touch point delivers. Products perform at higher levels. Promise cap. Retail treats customers like athletes. Promise cap. Marketing celebrates athlete achievement. Promise cap. Customer service solves problems fast. Promise cap. Digital experience is seamless. Promise cap. No gaps. What are the promises that they deliver? Why is the brand so powerful? That's because of all the consistency with no gaps. So again, your gap analysis is for each touch point that you rated, contradicting or weak, identify the specific gap. What do we promise here? What do we actually deliver as a brand? How do we close this gap that we have? Then prioritize. Fix contradictions first, then strengthen your weak points. So here's some quick principles for you on this. Experience gaps equals broken promises equals lost trust. Close gaps by delivering what you promise, or stop promising it. Bring all channels to your best channel standard. Test perception. Don't assume intent equals reality with your customer. So in conclusion here, coming to the conclusion, I always give you kind of some homework in the next steps in these series. And here's your work on this Chronicle number 3 of becoming a visionary brand. First thing I want you to do is map all your touch points. Create a comprehensive list of every place your brand meets customers. Number 2 is conduct brand consistency audit. Rate each touch point strong, weak, or contradicting. Number 3 is identify your top 5 gaps. What are the most damaging inconsistencies? What contradictions do you need to fix right away? And go out and kick ass and take names and make these changes sooner rather than later. Create an action plan is next. For each gap, define what's the gaps, why does it exist, how do we close it, who owns it, and what's the timeline for executing on it. And next is document one standard. Pick your most important touch point. Document specific measurable standards for delivering consistently. And last is assign touch point owners. For your top 10 touch points, assign clear ownership or they'll never get done, and accountability for execution based on that time frame. This isn't glamorous work. It's operational discipline for visionary brands. But it's the difference. It's the difference between being visionary with a strategy that fails in execution and a visionary strategy that builds lasting brand power. Your choice. So in closing, I always give you some points here too to think about. So these questions and this homework will be in the podcast notes. So you can go back and take a look at these again, listen to the podcast again. I have it both on video as well as I have it. Video will have actually some of these points as I go through the video and the podcast itself. If you go to the audio portion, just go to the notes and I'll have these questions in there for you. So in closing, I want to give you a couple points here to think about. And, how do I move closer? And that's many times when we work with clients with Liquid Mind, will ask us, well, how do we become like Nike? How do we become like Oakley? And here's some points to think about. Vision without consistent execution is just aspiration. Think about that. That's a great point. And when you look at it, it's true, is that you can have a great vision, but if you're inconsistent in your execution, it's just aspirational. It doesn't become a reality. You can have the most brilliant brand strategy. You can be willing to disrupt yourself. You can understand the visionary gap and the liquid mindset. But if your customer experiences really are inconsistent, if what you promise doesn't match what you deliver, you'll never build trust required for long-term success. That's just the way it is. And consistency, when people look at these, because everything that's involved in the touch points isn't sexy. It's not what people talk about in strategy sessions, but it's what builds brands that last. And this is why I wrote the book. And this will be inside the Visionary Brand book as well. The formula for success is in there. Apple, Nike, Patagonia, Amazon. I talk about all of them. What they all share isn't just vision, it's operational discipline to deliver consistency across all touch points every time, not just occasionally. So stay tuned for Chronicle 4. We're going to talk about the next big thing becoming a visionary brand involves, which is navigating brand challenges and crises, the foundation that builds everything for long-term success. Because once you have consistency, you need to be consistently delivering something meaningful to your customer. So until then, do your audit. Find your gaps, close them, build the systems that ensure what you promise is what customers experience every single time. So thank you again for joining me on the Visionary Chronicles. If you're ready to move from theory to true, really market dominance, I call it, visit the Visionary Files to get access to an extended business leadership series. It's a master course on the Visionary brand. It's an 18-part course over 2 hours of videos, including lectures, support material, Q&A on how to architect a legacy brand based on strategies from my best-selling book, The Visionary Brand, which is what this series is about. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd encourage you to grab a copy also of my new book, The Visionary Leader. That gets a little bit more of a breakdown, by the way, of not only the brand, I felt the company first, brand, and leader second, and the Visionary Leader, the success principles of the world's greatest visionaries. It's available now, and proud to say as well. And thank you for those that did purchase the book, but more importantly, those that reached out to me after purchasing the book, saying how you applied what I wrote in there really helped them in your success. So it's a perfect companion if you're looking to reignite your purpose or lead with more clarity in the super complex world we live in today. And as a thank you to the loyal podcast listeners in the Visionary community we're building together, grab an ebook version for $1.99, and we still have that up on Amazon for a short period of time. And proud to announce as well, last month, the end of, actually in December, we released the audiobook of both The Visionary Leader and The Visionary Brand. And The Visionary Leader is really kind of a culmination of decades of research and experiences and real-world insights into what makes leaders like Steve Jobs, Leonardo da Vinci, Abraham Lincoln truly visionary. And your support means the world to me, really, because your purchase, goes a long way in helping me spread the word of this vision even further. There's many leaders that need this information, but only through you does it become available to them. So the Visionary Chronicles are the futures created by those bold enough to shape it. And until next time, I always say keep innovating, keep leading, and keep shaping the future. Thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Stay true, stay authentic, be great, and be different. But most of all, enjoy the journey along the way until the next Visionary Chronicles, Chronicle number 4, in our series, Becoming a Visionary Brand. Appreciate your time and have a great day.